Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here, and I've been playing The Sims 4 since its release, which is almost 10 years ago now, which is absolutely wild to think about. And I think one of the biggest questions that I get, one of my most requested videos, and honestly something that even I get tripped up on sometimes, is how to correctly save The Sims 4, because there are so many different ways to save this game and load into games, and obviously there are so many different types of playstyles, there are so many different sims, there are so many settings that saves really can run away from you. All you have to do is look through my save file folder and see just how many of them I have. It is a hot mess. So today I basically wanted to make a guide that will hopefully help you discover how is best to save your save, what do you actually need to know about all the different save options and what they do within your game to kind of get your save to where you want it to be. The button that most people are probably gonna click the most within the game is New Game, but that maybe isn't what you want to be clicking. So what does New Game actually do? When you hit this, you load up into Create a Sim, which I know some people truly hate. So you can make an 8-sim family, you can add cats and dogs if you have that expansion, you could just have a single sim and then cheat them to have no money to their name. This is basically your blank canvas of a save. Let's be real, Jonathan, no offense to you, you are just a test sim. But one of my favorite defaults in Create a Sim. I love him. Obviously, if you have the Sims 4 seasons, here you can choose what season you want to be in. We are springing into a new save, so let's actually choose spring. And then you can choose what world you want to live in. For the basis of this video, let's pretend that we have a base game only, so we're going to choose to live in Oasis Springs. I'm going to choose to move him into Sandtrap Flap. Boom, he has moved in there. The game is going to load me up into him. You can start playing as them if that's all you want to do. If you just want a fresh save where your sim knows no one, other sims usually don't know anyone either, because let's be real, that's how the EA default goes, apart from in the newer packs. However, if you actually want to add multiple families into this save file, what you can do is actually head into Manage Worlds, just go to Manage Worlds, and you can click this right here, which is like Create New Household to move in. If you want to, you can play one of the families that EA have already created, so you can go play the Caliente household, you can go play a family over in Copperdale, and all you do to play these is actually click on the family and then hit the play button. Now this is where it can get slightly more confusing. If you have 2 or more households that you are currently playing in a save file, I want you to know that this is where it really starts depending on the settings that you've chosen for that save file. And the 2 main things that you're going to want to focus on is game options and then gameplay. You can auto-age played households. Now this is something that I wanted to talk about, because if you do have multiple families that you are like constantly playing in a save, so for example I have Jonathan who I just played, and then I also now have this Price family. If you actually have this turned on, any sim that is classed as a played household, so anyone that you have actually hopped into and played, I'll show you that in the Manage World settings because you can also see who is classed as a played household in those options, he will automatically age, which means whatever lifespan you actually have this set to. So for right now it's long, probably not going to see a difference in his age for a very long time because the long lifespan is wild. If you have this set to short, Jonathan is going to age up pretty rapidly because I've said yes to every played household aging. If I don't want my played household, so that's the Price family who I'm currently playing as, and also Jonathan who is my other played household, if I don't want them aging automatically like off screen whilst I'm not playing them, or whilst I'm also playing them and I kind of want to be in control of when they age up, I can hit no, or I can choose only active household, which means whichever family you are currently playing as, whichever family you're in build mode with or you're in live mode with, whoever you are loaded into will actually be the only one who ages out of your played household. So I could not play Jonathan for like months and months and months, but he would never age up in my game unless I obviously hop back into him and played as him, and then he would start to age gradually. You can also choose to auto age unplayed households. So those are pretty much every other household in this default save that EA have ever created. You can choose to have them age whilst you are not playing the game. So it'll kind of feel like they're living their lives. Be wary, they can die. So eventually the game will start creating random townies to like fill those household slots so that you're not living in like a completely empty world, but you may have to say goodbye to the goths at one point in time. Or you can turn that off, and then again, anyone who you have never ever touched within the save file will just stay the exact same way they have always been. They will not age. I like to have this turned on personally because I do like the passing of time within my game, and I usually play on a normal or long lifespan, which does take a little bit of time for Sims to age up anyway. Then if you get bored of playing the Price household, you just want to switch it up a little bit, you want to hop in to another family, you want to create a new family and move them in, you want to go back to Jonathan, you can just head to Manage Worlds. This time around, I'm just going to choose Save and go to Manage Worlds, just in case you have played this family and you want to save the progress that you've made in them. Then over here in Manage Households, this is who you can actually see is classed as a played sim that you have played. So when we talk about those aging settings, these are the households that we're talking about. The little plum bob here means that he has been played and the Price family have also been played. I've gone into live mode with both of these families. If you click on a household, you can actually set them to unplayed. So if you accidentally hit on one and you don't actually want them to be in here and you do just want them to age up like a regular townie, you can mark as unplayed, and then you could also click back out of this. You can click this heart right here and you can move that family into other households, which means they will just age and have all of those settings that the other households that you've never played with do have. And this is where they will go with the rest of the townies of The Sims 4. Obviously, you can configure neighborhood stories here. You can just turn it off completely if you don't want any of these affecting these households. You can turn off dying in accidents if you'd rather them just like die from old age, if you have like aging turned on. And then you can also change this up for my households. I prefer just not having any neighborhood stories enabled for my households because it will still affect them if you're not playing as them, which means obviously a family that you might have grown very attached to could potentially die in an accident, which I personally never want to do. I want to be the teller of my stories. I want to have the Grim Reaper visit who I want the Grim Reaper to visit, okay? I want to be the one in control. So usually I have this turned off. That is your blank canvas. I have heard people say, what if I want to create like a base save? These are kind of your save files that you will hear the Sims 4 community talking about. This is when people go in, they edit townies, they edit relationships, they play up to a point in a family that they're happy with. You can add new buildings to save files. There are a ton of things that you can do. I'm sure so many of us have seen like custom save files for The Sims 4, which are absolutely incredible, by the way, and they also take an awful lot of time. So absolute props to any simmer who has ever created one. If you are in that boat and you've put loads of time into kind of curating your perfect base save that you always want to start playing a new game in, I'm going to show you how to do that because you do not hit new game. If you've just like made some progress in the family and you're like, hey, I'm tapping out now, that's enough Sims for the day, feel free to just save. You can exit and then save, and that will just leave you from the last point that you played. You can hop back into it from any point from the main menu. However, if you do want to start a like base save that you always want to load into, I'm going to suggest that Save As is your best friend for those instances. The best way to describe this is like a Word document. I feel like that's where most people have used Save As. So Save just creates another copy of the save that you constantly have. Save As actually offers you the option to save it as a new save. It's actually a completely separate save from the ones that you might have saved in the past. So we're gonna add a new save. You can give this any save name that you want, but I'm gonna choose base save for this video. And then you can actually just exit to main menu because we just saved as. And then from this main menu, you can go to load game. Don't ever play in that base save. You never ever want to change this. You just want to keep this forever the way that it is. That is all of your hard work. That is all of your storytelling. It's all of your townie makeovers. But if you do want to use this as a base, go and play it and that will resume it. It will actually load you up into Manage Worlds. And then there are actually two different ways to go about this. So I feel like this is where it can get confusing for players. So obviously we're in that base save right now. That's the one that we've loaded up. That's the one that we've resumed. So here we can add new families in, again, by by choosing to click on a lot and creating a new household to move in, or just being in the manage worlds and saying create a new household. And if you do this, again, you do not want to touch that base save. So you're going to want to save as again, and this will come up as a new copy, but obviously with those new households that you've created. So we're going to add a new save. Say if I want this to reference Del Sol Valley, because that's where we moved into, I'm going to call it Del Sol Valley. I'm going to say okay. And basically what that does is create a second save that still has all of your base settings, but has those new households that you want to play as. And then from here, you can just choose to save as normally, because you haven't overwritten your base save. That's going to always be there, but make sure you're using that save as for the first initial save of whoever you may have added into that base save, so that you're not overwriting the initial base save that you created. Because you've worked hard for all of those options, it's everything that you wanted it to be, and it's still gonna be there in your game. Yeah, eventually as you like add more saves to this, it's gonna like go further and further down because you might not have loaded it in for a while. I would say though, from personal experience with a customized save file, it's probably easiest to actually, once this like loads up, just save as straight away. Because if you start adding different families in and then you start like playing the save like actively and you dump a couple of hours into this save file, you're probably gonna forget to use save as. So my best option is just always save as, add a new save, call it what you want to call it what you want to, and then hop into the save that you just created instead of your base save file, just so you know that you're not gonna misclick. I personally would suggest, if you are creating like a base default save that you always want to play in, actually choose this right here, which is copy the save file path to the clipboard. This actually shows you where that specific save file is in your documents, and I would always suggest actually copying and pasting that save folder onto your desktop or onto a hard drive, just so you know you aren't gonna ever lose your base save. These are the files that I mean right here. As you can see, we have the saves folder. You can also just paste it into your search bar and it will come up with the specific save because you just copied it to your clipboard. And from here, you can right click, you can copy it, and then you can paste it to an external hard drive, a desktop. I personally would always suggest an external hard drive, but this is just so you know you have a hard copy that you can reference at any time and actually just drag back into your saves folder in case you do overwrite it. Hopefully this has made sense so far when it comes to the importance of save and save as, and what they actually do for you as a player in specific scenarios that you might be wanting to set up. Now we're going to talk about like loading up a new game, or if you want that completely fresh start where you choose weather again, you don't want anything else to be affecting your game, you don't want any of the other families that you've already put time and effort into, you just want that blank state, that EA default, start a new game. Just keep in mind that that's always going to give you a new family. It's going to be separate from any other save that you've ever created. So if you want that blank start, that is the button for you. If you don't want a blank start, most people I feel would go for resume because it's like the top of the list, it's the biggest button. Resume I never ever use. I just want to tell you what this does. So resume actually just takes you straight into the household and also straight into the save that you were last playing. So obviously for us, that was the Del Sol Valley save. That's what we just came out of. That's when I exited my game. So he's going to be the top of my list. It doesn't take you into manage worlds or anything. You can just continue playing with this sim. If you, however, did want this specific save file, so I did want Del Sol Valley, but maybe I didn't want to play as him, obviously I could just do everything that I've already spoken about. I can save and go to manage worlds, and I can create a new household. I can play as an EA household. I can download a household off the gallery. Maybe I just feel like I want to build, so I can hop in here and maybe do some new builds. Just because you load into that household doesn't mean that you have to like only stay in that household. You can do whatever you want to do once you've actually loaded into it. What I personally prefer and what I feel gives me the most control as a simmer when I'm like loading into a save file is actually choosing the load game, because obviously this is a massive long list of every single save that you've ever created, and it also just doesn't take you directly into the last household that you were playing. Say if I want to go back in to my original, you just choose this, you choose to play, and there we have it. It takes you into the world that your current household is currently in. So obviously we last played with the Price household in this save file, so they are already loaded in. They're highlighted with this little green plumb bob. You can choose to go play as them. Again, if we wanted to, we could go back to our one other played household. We could play as Jonathan. We could play as whoever. I just feel like this gives you the most freedom, and it also means that you don't constantly just have to go back to the save that you've been playing, and I feel like that's where most of the confusion comes from, because I feel like most people probably do just hit resume and then they like go and like create a new family and stuff, and then they're like, oh wait, all my hard work of like that initial family that I was playing, like I didn't realize that I was now living in the same save as him, and now he's all messed up because I wasn't playing as him. This is why you have to be really, really wary of like what saves you actually load into, and not to like overwrite anything, and also play around with those settings so it does feel like you're still in control of your save file, even if something does happen to go wrong and you do get your wires crossed. And finally, I want to put like everything that we've spoken about in this video actually into practice. So you may have hit that resume button when you didn't really fully understand what it did. You might have 3 separate families in your saves, all living in different worlds. So we've got Sim living in Oasis Springs here, we've got Sims living in Willow Creek here, and we've got Sims living in Copperdale. But I actually meant for these all to be in their own different saves so that they weren't really messing with each other. And the best way to go about this is actually using that save as functionality. So we're actually gonna remove one of the households that we no longer want in this save file. You can just like full on delete them if you want to. I wouldn't really suggest that, because obviously that's like deleting the progress, and you always want to kind of have a backup just in case this process goes wrong whilst you're doing it. What I would do is actually just mark them as unplayed, and then I would also take them over to the other households. I would do this with 2 out of the 3, or however many you want to create a new save with, and then all you're left with is Jonathan. So then you're going to exit out of this, you're going to go to the options menu, you're going to choose save as, and his save is going to be referred to as Unproblematic King Jonathan. Okay. Boom, sorted. You know that he is going to be in that load games, and you're going to have your progress with Jonathan there. You can go back into manage worlds. You can find those households. Let's move them back in here. We're going to then obviously get rid of Jonathan. Boom, we're going to do that. We're going to take him out of my households. And once you have that separate household, again, exit out of it. You're just going to do save as. Let's say this was like a Realm of Magic save that you wanted to like play as with spellcasters and stuff. So we're just going to refer to this as a Realm of Magic. That is now saved. And then finally, to get that last household, we're going to move those back into other households. You're going to sort through the hot mess of what is other households to find the 3rd family or whatever other families you got rid of. So you can either move them back into my households through here, or you can click on them and you can move them into my households again. Boom, they are now there. Exit out of it. Save as for the final time. Add a new save. We're going to refer to these as high school years. And then from here, you can exit to main menu. You've already saved all of them as, so you can just exit to main menu. Then we go to load game. And hopefully, if the game has cooperated with both you and me, we should be able to see all of them. And we should just be able to hop into all 3 of those where they are now their own separate things. I don't know why the Price family are here. That was definitely just the main menu being weird and not showing that image. Jonathan is the one who is here. We can just play as him. It takes us into the world that Jonathan is in, and we can play as him. We click on Realm of Magic. This should hopefully have the Spencer Kim Lewis household, who maybe I do want to turn into spellcasters at some point. We know that they live in Willow Creek. This one's a little bit different because they were technically not played as, but that was just for the purpose of this video. If that was you, they're probably going to be a played household because you probably have been playing like all three or however many households you have that you then want to like split up into separate saves. So again, we can just continue to play as them, so on, so forth. That's how you actually split families up into your desired actual saves that you wanted from the beginning before you got confused with the Sims main menu, because it is confusing. I don't know why Resume is here. I did a whole tutorial like back last year going over all of the options that are listed on this main menu. It kind of has crossover with this video, but you might also find it helpful, so I'm gonna link it at the end of this one. It is a pretty clear tutorial. It's also not as long as this one. And again, if you do get your wires crossed, The Sims 4 has a built-in pretty handy feature for you to actually recover saves. So if you go to load game and then click on a specific save file, say for example someone passed away in this save and then I had to save afterwards, then I wanted to go back to an earlier version where that sim was still alive because I wasn't enjoying playing, or for whatever reason something goes wrong and you want to revert it, hit this recover save, and this actually keeps the last 5 saves of that specific file. If I knew, for example, it happened in this save, I could go back to the one like an hour before. So we are gonna recover this one. We'll create a new game save slot. It's kind of like a save as, so it is a direct copy, but it's a completely separate save. The word recovered appended to the end of its name, and then you can just choose to play this as normal. I know that was a lot of words. I know that was a lot of save as, load, resume, just so many words. But that is what I mean when I talk about just how saturated like the saving is in The Sims 4. But when you first get your hands on this game and you're loading in and it's just like resume, then obviously you're probably gonna overwrite like families that you didn't want to overwrite, and there's just a lot of ways for it to go wrong. Like I said, sometimes even I second guess my knowledge and I'm like, really? Even throughout this video I was like, I'm supposed to be making a tutorial. Am I really understanding this to the best of my abilities? But I'm fairly sure I covered a lot of the issues that I personally have heard people talk about in the past. Obviously, if there are any other things that you want me to clarify, please do not hesitate to leave like comments down below, questions that you might have about like saving and loading, how to split saves up if you have saved them incorrectly at some point. My biggest advice is always back up your Sims 4 folders, specifically saves, mods, and also your tray files. If you ever lose anything important for the game, it's gonna be those 3. Make sure you back them up on an external hard drive every single time the game updates. You never know when there's gonna be a game corrupting bug and you're gonna lose your save files. So if you have them on an external hard drive, you can always just wait for an emergency patch. You can wait for things to be fixed. The game is buggy right now, I know, and I think that's also why saving the correct way is so important. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it wasn't too confusing to follow. If you need anything clarifying, please do not hesitate to let me know. I honestly want people to enjoy their games the way that they want to play them, whether that's like rotational save files, whether that's having like a very specific save file for every single storyline you've ever wanted to play within the game. You should be in control of how your game actually plays. Also, if there are any other things that you are unsure of, you've never actually seen like a full video dedicated on any tutorials or walkthroughs or how-tos that you would like to see, please do not hesitate to leave them in the comments down below. I want to start making more videos like this. I know that they are helpful to so many people out there, so I hope this one finds the people that it needs. And if you need anything else explaining, then please feel free to leave your requests in the comments. But most importantly, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you always, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.